From time immemorial, we as humans have sought to answer some of life's most difficult questions. How did the universe come into existence? Is there a God? Is there an afterlife? And as you all surely know, the most pressing question for all of humanity, what watch brand is best, and how can we possibly all come to a consensus on the matter? I did extensive research and worked side by side with theoretical physicists, mathematicians, and cryptozoologists alike. It quickly became obvious that only one experiment could settle this query once and for all. It was agreed that I would go undercover, wearing a pair of Macho Man Randy Savage high-top sneakers, which are 2 sizes too big for me, into the boutiques of leading watch companies to see if anyone complimented them. This, the team felt, would be a clear way to identify the brand with the keenest eye for design and all that is great in this world. To round things out, I would also award points if I felt like I was treated at least like a human being by staff, and I would also note if any freebies were offered, though I was never to ask for any. The experiment began at the Bucherer boutique, where I went in to see the work of a young new startup called Patek Philippe. Bucherer carries different brands, but because I was on that side of the store primarily, I will count this as a visit to Patek Philippe. Upon entering the store, I was instantly reminded of the fact that people who work at this level of retail are often faced with penniless morons like me coming through the store to not buy anything and merely show off their fancy tennis shoes. Security guards stand for hours, a thankless job if there ever was one, but humanity needed to have the question answered. Which company is the best? So I proceeded with the experiment in the name of science, of course. So how did it go? It was a mixed bag. A couple of salespeople greeted me and even complimented my shoes. A great start. And they are...
Oh, Macho Man Randy Savage. Nice.
Yeah. We talked for a bit and all was well. Sadly, others at the shop were not as welcoming as the 2 with great taste in shoes. Nothing was offered, adding up to a total of 18 points. Next up, Vacheron. The security guard was nice, but the staff quickly realized that I don't have Vacheron-type money, and I was treated accordingly. No freebies were offered, and none of them noticed that my zebra-striped shoes are more of a work of art than the watches they sell. I mean, has Vacheron ever even done a collaboration with a wrestler like Macho Man Randy Savage?
Oh yeah!
No, I rest my case. I then ventured over to Audemars Piguet. The staff were kind and welcoming. Perhaps most impressive of all was the fact that the store smelled like heaven. I was told that the scent was especially developed for the boutiques. I imagine that it mimics the smell of Gerald Genta sharpening a pencil as he bathes in warm rose water with a lavender infusion. It smelled that good. At AP, I was treated like a human being and chatted for a good while. I was treated to water and small chocolate. Sadly, they did not notice or comment upon my shoes, but they still got a total score of 20, an impressive showing by an impressive brand. After the sensory delight of AP, I attempted to go into both Jacob & Co. and Richard Mille. Both boutiques had security guards that looked and acted more like bouncers. Unlike other stores, where security guards slowly open the door as you approach, at Jacob & Co. and Richard Mille, no such thing happened. I stood by the front door, and they just stared back at me. They didn't open the door. Part of me wanted to think that I was not allowed due to my shoes, but since they just stared at my face and not my feet, I think it's unlikely that they witnessed the magic of my high tops. Next, I went to the Tudor/Rolex boutique. Here, the difference between the 2 brands was on full display. I was offered a catalog at Tudor, and I spoke to several salespeople. It was a pleasantly warm day, and small talk turned into medium talk with a couple of the salespeople. Sadly, my shoes were not noticed or praised during my time at the Tudor side of the store. Once I walked into the Rolex side, the demeanor of the staff was clearly different. A lot of staring and some following me around. No freebies were offered, but then my shoes were noticed. At first, I took this as a sign of Rolex redeeming itself, but it was not to be. Why? Because my shoes were pretty much mocked. Sadly, I have no audio of this happening, as the camera on my phone turned off while sitting partially in my pocket. But if I remember correctly, the comment about the work of art that are my shoes was along the lines of, "Oh my, those are some, shoes." To round out my day of looking at watches and sharing my fashion sense with employees at different boutiques, I decided to swing by the granddaddy of all watch brands. I'm referring, of course, to Invicta. As you might expect, there was no security guard to judge me at the shop's door. The people working at the store were kind, and I actually had fairly long conversations about all kinds of stuff with the two employees. They were helpful and upbeat. I was given cologne samples, and then, right before I walked out, my fine taste in shoes was complimented. Yep, free cologne, and I was treated like a human being instead of an animal, and my beautiful high tops were not only recognized but complimented. A perfect trifecta, meaning that Invicta wins this round of Macho Man Shoe Challenge, followed by AP and Rolex being very dead last. So there you have it. Consider the argument settled. Invicta is the best watch company in the world, and Rolex is the very worst. It's scientific fact, and my peer-reviewed paper titled Macho Man Footwear and Horological Bias Theory will be published in the New England Journal of Anthropology and Horology next month. You're welcome.
Oh yeah!